everyone. Emergency button. Emergency meeting. Shams. Blockbuster deal is official. I'm over here. I just hopped out the shower. I was about to light a candle. I was celebrating my Eagles making it to the Super Bowl. And instead, we now have officially the deal of the summer in the WNBA. The Seattle Storm are trading 6-time All-Star Jewell Loyd to the Las Vegas Aces in a multi-team move that sends 3-time All-Star Kelsey Plum to the LA Sparks. And then for the Storm here, acquiring the number 2 pick and Lee Yuru, with the Sparks getting number 9 from Seattle and the Aces receiving number 13 from LA. Folks, again, I mean, this is kind of what we had kind of discussed this on Ball Top a little bit, not exactly in this exact frame of this. Andrew, I'll start with you. Just immediate initial. We are completely freestyling. We saw the tweet. We hit record. First thoughts.
This is why I record in the panic room. Panic room for a reason. Honestly, well, my first thought is shit. I got to go and change a big chunk of 5 out, but okay. What, why ever work ahead on anything? That's my thought. Just procrastinate.
Exactly, procrastinate. Hello. Turn that up.
Why ever have time management in this dumb fucking industry? Anyway, this works for everybody. I love this trade for every single party involved here. The Sparks get a veteran guard presence, a proven name commodity in the league. Somebody that is insanely marketing friendly, insanely sponsor friendly, insanely the type of person that can be a franchise face and allow you to compete immediately against not the top of the league, but the playoff contenders of the league. A core 4 of Cam Brink, Rickea Jackson, De'Erica Hamby, Kelsey Plum. That's 4 people that can get you to the playoffs at minimum. When fully healthy, that's 4 people that can get you to the playoffs. It's a great infrastructure that you now have around Lynn Roberts. You also still retain the 9th pick, which you're getting from Seattle, which means you can still go point guard hunting if you really want to there, or you can go BPA and get yourself a really good bench piece. Our own Rashard Hall and his 3.0 at 9, he had Tahina Pau to the Seattle Storm. He had Sammy Puisis from USF at 10, Zay Green at 11, Haley Van Lith at 12. I think some of that is going to change in the 4.0. But even still, like, there's talent toward the back there that you can still get. And that is without any other type of crazy stuff, right? Like, that's not without a Cheyenne Sellers or an Anissa Morrow potentially dropping in the draft. Like, there's a lot of options here for the Sparks to be able to go. So for the team that I think stood the most to gain going into the draft process, hoping to land Paige Beckers, this is not Paige Beckers, but this is a really, really high floor piece with a really good ceiling, especially in a Lynn Roberts offense. I love this for the Aces in terms of adding just something a little new. As far as the actual basketball fit, I don't know how super sold I am on a potentially inefficient gunner like a Jewell Loyd, but the thing that the Aces get here, and this is what I really think is important, Jewell Loyd has shown herself to be a very good 1B or number 2 option in this league. It's when she's asked to be 1A that the problem is problems have arisen. And it felt like a lot of the battles this year within that locker room was Jewell feeling like I'm 1A and other players being like, no, we're here now. You're not 1A. Jewell Loyd respects Asia Wilson entirely too much to walk into Vegas and be like, I'm 1A. She is going there knowing full well that she is the number 2 in that on that team. And she's shown time and time again in this league, when she's a number 2, she's a really good number 2, especially in Seattle. She was a really good number 2 when Stewie was there. So this is a great just change up of the energy a little bit. I feel like the Aces needed that. They just needed something to shake things up a little bit. You've got somebody that is friends with a lot of the people that are already on your team. And I think for the Aces, there's going to be an adjustment period here, but I do think that the locker room cohesion is going to work in a way that people might not see now, but they will see later in the season. And then finally with the Seattle Storm, this changes the entire complexion of this WNBA
Absolutely.
draft, because pick number 2 now no longer becomes so cut and dried about a guard. Like, you have Skylar Diggins. You don't need Olivia Miles there at number 2. Now, what does that do? Do you do Kiki Iriafen there at 2 and have her learn behind NECA, or even prepare for the possibility of losing NECA in free agency and replace her with that kind of player? Do you take a swing at a Dominique Malonga and say, we're just going to go BPA, highest overall ceiling. We've got playoff contending pieces now, and we can grow her and develop her in our system and make her the next star of this thing in the Northwest. You could go literally anywhere at number 2 now. And now that number 2, you can go anywhere. Now, all of a sudden, dude, Olivia Miles to Chicago at number 3 becomes a very real possibility. So I understand why when Annie Costabile reported for the Chicago Sun-Times that this would have to be the first domino to fall. Now that it's done, I see exactly why that's the case. All of these things had to happen, and now the board is completely opened up. And generally, I think it works for every team. I don't know who got the best of all of it, but I feel like every team's leaving this from either a on paper, on floor perspective or a locker room culture perspective. I feel like every organization is leaving better, and that's the mark of a good trade. I think all sides benefit here. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this. Again, Chicago might be the team that won the trade the most, frankly, by being able to potentially get Olivia Miles at 3. Shawnee, I kind of offer the floor to you. Like, what are the vibes? What are the thoughts with Jewell, Loyd headed to Vegas and KP headed to LA?
Boy, I'm fighting for my life. I took a Benadryl thinking I was going to be able to go to sleep tonight. And lo and behold, Messy Monday got started at 8 o'clock on a Sunday. Boy, I love this league. First and foremost, it's not lost on me that Shams got the news. Like, okay, on brand. Second, I'm like sitting there and I'm kind of like, do I like it for everyone? Do I not like it for everyone? And so I think that to me is like Andrew said, the mark of a good trade. Like, I don't outright look and say like, what are you doing? So everybody kind of got what they needed. Like, you're right. We did need a new energy, and the Aces have been very good at getting that new energy. Sometimes it's not the best energy, but I've watched, big names like Elizabeth Cambage come through the door, Angel McCautry, Candace Parker, so we're good at infusing it, but this time I think we've done it to a point where it's cohesive. It is something we actually needed, because Jewell, Loyd, like you said, she was trying to do too much in Seattle the last, after Stewie left. And it's just, that's not her position. That's not her role. I think being able to play alongside, a steady point guard like Chelsea Gray, your MVP like Asia Wilson, and then have the backup players to take up, like the Jackie Youngs and what have you, to take the pressure off of her, that's huge. And then it takes the pressure off of other people, because Alicia Clark is not getting any younger. That's just, we got to start figuring that out. Sid Colson is not getting any younger. So, we still need to revamp the bench. We still need to do stuff in that department. But this is a solid piece, because if you gun to my head, I'm taking Jewell over Kelsey. That would be, in terms of who's the better player, that's who I'm taking. In terms of who's the better fit, I think that works. It's the better fit right now. But the Sparks swung big. You can see how they plan on using her by checking out our interview with Eli Horowitz, and see what the team's up to hiring Lynn and what their outlook on the season is. And he had mentioned that, this is a place where free agents want to come, big names want to come, and they have the pieces to attract that. I do think it's very interesting. The De'Erica KP connection. Obviously they have history, and I know you
mentioned that.
Yep.
You mentioned that. It's
So now we know.
Messy Monday.
I was just waiting to click the button, because I think this is where people's head kind of initially went when we heard KP to the Sparks, was like,
and that's what I told y'all I told y'all in the chat the other day. I was like, hey, so now we know who she's mad at when she was trying to drop 30 every game against the Aces, so that becomes a bit abundantly clear. But
Mm.
you know, whew, they were in a good position with that number 2 pick, but like picking Olivia Miles, now you don't have to wait for a learning curve. You have a number 1 pick in Kelsey Plum who is at 30 reaching her peak. She was she was beginning to play more consistent ball. She was being able to score at a high level, pick her spots, and do what she needed to do to really like stabilize an offense. Like I think she sometimes does too much and goes off the rails, but you live and you learn. You take that and you do what you got to do. So I think they have a stabilizing piece. You have 2 champions that have played together in her and De'Erica. That connection's going to be solid for Seattle. That's crazy because it's like at every position you already have what you need. So you really kind of just needed Jewell Loyd to, not hate it there.
Yeah.
And we can't change that. So, but like you said, they could go any number of ways. You get an Ezzy back up, you get a NECA back up because again, she's not getting any younger. You could get somebody that can be the future, or you could. I'm taking these. Hey, look, I'm after what I saw on Friday, Anissa Morrow at 2. I wouldn't hate it. Like I absolutely would not hate it. And
Yeah,
so I think I saw it. She put her at the 3 or like let her loose. Let her do what she do. Anissa Morrow at 2 is not out of the realm of possibility in my eyes. I would like to see it. And I think every team got something they needed. They have flexibility now and we're off and rolling, man. Like we find like we used to pray for times like this.
Bro, I'm saying
For trades like this. For news like this. Come on.
How many deals like this have we seen in the W where we're truly seeing superstar for superstar in this manner?
A
like
3-team trade, bro. This is like the first time we've gotten super news like this, and it's a 3-team trade. I can't believe this is my life.
Yeah, like you're basically. I mean, and then especially, I mean, the number 2 is a superstar level asset. So like it is truly. I mean, I'd have to go back through the history books, but I can't imagine just like in pure like volume of stardom that there's been very many bigger trades in WNBA history than this one.
And it's
in that way.
It's an even trade too in that respect, right? Like the last major trade I can think of this magnitude was John Quell's 3-team trade that sent her to New York in 2021. But like she kind of held a gun to Connecticut.
Yeah, and everyone else just like kind of
like
whatever.
And the trade itself, like the assets didn't match even close. Like it was, John Quell goes to New York and then Rebecca Allen and Tash Howard go to Connecticut and Dallas. Like the wing, Crystal Dangerfield and Ty Harris goes to Connecticut and a pick, and the pick was like number 6. So like, we don't get many of these, man. So like this is really cool. But I'll tell you this.
Andrew, if I could interject. Because I feel like Seattle could have they were in a similar situation, like gun to their head. Because like when you say it out loud, like Lee Yaroo and a number 2 pick for Jewell Loyd, it doesn't sound like it's not like the James Wade trades of old, right? Where you're like, what are you doing?
Chicago fans beat me up on my Twitter mentions for even thinking about the number 3 pick. So they come away with number 2. I mean,
you would think. But like you would watch a James Wade trade and be like, dog, you're going to jail. Like this is
yeah.
And so I feel like they had to get rid of Jewell they was gonna get something. They was gonna leave with something, but I don't think it is. I think everybody got what they needed, everybody got what they wanted, but I don't think they got as much as they could. Seattle did. So it's
I don't know. It feels like a pretty good haul to me.
Bro, here's the hottest take. Does this open the door for a Sonia Citron dark horse run to the number 2 pick?
No. Like, I like Sonya, but like I feel like I'm sorry, like if I have Anissa Morrow on the board, if I have Kiki on the board, like I feel like Sonya's being now we're at the point where we're glazing Sonya. I'm sorry.
Look, respectfully. Scarsdale. Always gonna
all right. I respect the loyalty.
You have your 803. I have my 914.
I feel it.
We gotta defend the delis. A lost dying market. No, I guess like my parting thought on it all is the domino had to fall, but the possibilities now are so interesting.
I don't know
like,
where
so
we go
interesting.
from here.
And one of the things that I to give people a preview that I wrote about in 5 Out that hits the inboxes Monday morning is the fact that you are going to see a lot of I think you're going to see a lot of weird movement. Like, given what we heard about Satu Sabali's potential leaving the Fever off for free agent preferred list, because why do that when you can maximize 1 year and ring chase with the Liberty, right? Like, now that this has been established, does LA fuck around and make some big swings on 1 year deals? Like, do you see more allegiances to super teams now because you have now this Jewell Loyd component with the Aces? Now does a high end free agency like a BG say, fuck it, I'll do a pay cut for a year and try and ring chase in Vegas? Like, I think you're going to see a lot of ring chasing qualities this year just on a 1 year blip because you know that the CBA is going to turn over. So if you aren't really, if you're operating under the assumption that everything is a 1 year rental, like you're going to make competitive choices more than you're going to make like lifestyle choices, right?
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, the balance of power of all of this has just shifted so substantially that now teams can promise certain things that they could not promise yesterday. Down to the Chicago Sky, bro. Like, the Chicago Sky can now make a run for Sloot and then have Olivia Miles potentially as a rookie point guard and say, hey, we have Olivia Miles as our point guard of the future, being trained day to day by one of the greatest point guards in league history. We have Camilla, we have Angel. All we need is you. Insert big name shooting guard or wing. Like, all of those things can be possible now. What LA can promise is so much more interesting now. And
in addition to the off-court perks that.
Well, and you know what makes
it even sorry, wait, no, what did Liz say they promised her if she never got it?
Too many things, man. There was a lot. I feel like there was a lot.
They said like a G-Wagon or something like that. Like, they were saying some crazy stuff.
Fisher,
but you said like it was like
they promised her a DJ deck in a residency.
We got you at Coachella. No, when you said promises, I was just like, well, I don't know if the Sparks are going to follow through on those this time. But no, you meant like future promises. And that is, again, if you go check out the interview with Eli on our Substack, he says that it's a tourist destination and you got the young pieces in LA. You got the hype. Like, that's the thing. Because like right now, when you see the Sue Bird and her wife podcast, well, Sue Bird and her lady podcast, like, she was saying, like, bro, I would have loved to play in this era. Like, there's money to be made all over the place. There's attention all over the place. Like, Sparks are in that media storm. And if you thrive on that and you want that, like, yeah, come take a 1 year deal. Come be a part of our TikToks. We got the 2 hottest rookies, and we didn't give up either of those rookies. Hello, Sparks, man. Sparks.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, your season of tears is now sowing. Yeah. You are reaping the benefits of those tears from Derek Fisher. You still need to jump him. Take his shoes too.
Yeah.
But it's coming back, Sparks fans.
Yeah, I think the immediate thing for me, and I'm sure we're all going to hit on this on Ball Up Top as well, our weekly podcast that you can find on Tuesdays as the dust settles. You can also find that on nocastspacewbb.com. I think my 2 initial like kind of parting thoughts here as we wrap up. I think the question will be like as a look forward question to me is, are the Sparks going in too early? I think will be like the hindsight answer that we get eventually. And depending on what happens at number 2 pick. And also, I can't help, I have our chat over here to my right, where I was pulling up those tweets from, and I can't help but notice Greer is already plotting to get a different UConn guard into Seattle. And you know what? I think that the Seattle Storm have way more to offer to get their way up to number 1 in terms of a Jordan Horston, the rights of Gabby Williams. So if Paige Beckers decided that, hey, Dallas, I still ain't going there, but you want to end up in Seattle, I'm just
she better accept this, Brian. No,
Seattle has. We won't go into the full dialogue on it, but Seattle has a bigger treasure chest than LA did. And especially with LA, presumably wanted to continue keep that core intact in that way. But
one more thing. Sorry, because now I just remembered Sloot is sick of Sabrina. So it's like we're talking about Olivia at the 3 in Chicago, but like, what if Sloot goes back? This is big in a lot of ways because, again, she's sick of Sabrina. She sucks.
There you go. Get it in. Yeah, I think Sloot to LA is also on the table now. Like, if you just want
really,
if you need a point guard, like if you're not, unless if you draft say draft Tahina at 9, and you have Sloot come in, you have Tahina back up for this 1 year and see where you're at in a year's time, potentially. They have I don't know exactly what their money looks like now with Plum on the books, but they had, I believe, a decent amount, and you have pretty decent depth still there with friend of the show, Azrae Stevens is still intact. Like you make pretty much everything here if you're the Sparks. So this is a very additive trade into what you're having. Instead of adding a rookie, you're adding Kelsey Plum in the immediate future.
It also kind of gets the Aces back into not the first round per se, but it gets them back into a place of being able to land a reasonable rookie within the draft as well. And I do think that's important as we look to the future, as Asia Wilson is getting older and Jackie Young is getting older. Chelsea Gray in particular here is somebody that I'm looking at you're starting to see some wear and tear on the legs. They need guard depth bad. And I think that this is a great deal for them. And also Lowkey, Becky GM.
I meant to bring that up. Yes, the Ace GMs and
Becky did this trade.
Are we sure it's not Carolyn Swartz?
She could have been let
sure
back
it's not Pancake.
She could pancake pressing the buttons on the trade machine. I need someone to make a graphic of that.
You know what it is? You seen those? You know that famous corgi that
the ball corgi,
air corgi.
Yes,
air corgi boops the ball into the basket.
Had a Jewell ball with different teams.
Yeah, they just put Kelsey Plum as the ball, and then just let Pancake hit it with his snoot and see if it lands in the LA or the Seattle bucket, and that's where they decide. Okay, in the 3-team trade, Kelsey goes there.
Yeah. This is the analysis that only you get from No Cat's Face.
I love that dog.
And on that note,
more times for that dog.
What?
I have to. If anything, Pancake isn't even my dog, but if anything ever happened to the WNBA's most famous corgi, they'd have to lock me up in The Hague.
That is possibly the whitest thing you've ever said.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely.
This is
John. Look, man. John Wick doesn't know anything about seasoning, but he knows about dogs. The love of a dog.
Thank you, Shams, for bringing us to this conversation out of all of us.
Right.
That is
Little Domino, Kelsey Plum trade.
This is what the
Big Domino Andrew is. Committing war crimes.
This is
war crimes for dog.
On that note, I'm wrapping this up, man. I'm taking us home. Thank y'all for tapping in. Emergency video. We hit the emergency meeting, but again, this is just the beginning of the discourse on this trade on free agency. We got you covered all throughout it. Again, 5 Out is dropping from Andrew tomorrow morning. NoCatSpaceWBB.com. The best weekly column in women's basketball. I'm telling you. And then we also have Ball Up Top, our weekly podcast dropping on Tuesday morning, where I'm sure we're going to be discussing this more again as the dust settles. Potentially we get a little bit more information from any side that we kind of is involved in this, or maybe we even have more dominoes by then. There's a lot to look out for. We got college, we got Unrivaled, we got WNBA free agency all going on all at once. Make sure you stay tapped in here on No Cat Space. Subscribe, go check out and subscribe the website as well. It's all completely free, and we'll see you next time.